us look beautiful.
Is that what it said? To
No,
make
I
us
don't
look
know.
beautiful?
No, that's what I said. Why else would they perfect the pixels?
Um, yeah, I
Yeah,
guess to hide all our scuffs and dings and this and that.
exactly. You're not going to perfect the pixels for a dirt clod. You know, you only perfect the pixels on works of art like us. Welcome to the most humble podcast on YouTube.
Well, I mean, we if we got it, we gotta strut it.
I'm telling you, we cheat the others and pass the savings on to you.
Um, so what's going on?
Um, yeah, same stuff, different day. I mean, you guys should have heard us when we came in. We're, in the back room talking, doing our little tech check and making sure we got the right microphones turned on and stuff like that. We're both complaining about our day. And it comes down to we're just getting old. We are just getting old. Man, I had something that happened to me today. I've been saving my pennies for about 5 years now to get a mini split put in my shop shed. Just a little, 12,000 BTU single zone mini split. So I've got heat and air condition that doesn't cost me, $700 a month to run. And the way I do these things is I will call, this time I called 4 companies and to get them out to give me a quote. They'll come out, check it out, and they work up a quote and they email it to me. That's great. Well, I had one scheduled to come out this morning at 9 a.m. and I'm still waiting for him. And it's now 6:35 p.m. So I'm of the uh, I'm of the opinion that if you're going to blow off the appointment for the estimate, I can't trust you to come out and do the job. So I'm just writing them off. Just forget it. Am I in the wrong there?
What's your saying? Uh, uh, causation. What is it?
Correlation does not imply causation.
Yeah, you should not attach the fact that they were undisciplined and didn't bother with you. You should not connect it that it means that they don't give a crap or that they're too aloof or this or that. You should be in a zen position and say,
Oh,
uh,
I am. I'm not bothered by it at all. But my attitude is if you can't come out and give me an estimate, why would I hire you to do something?
that's what I just responded to, but using a different little.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not in the wrong.
No, yeah, exactly. You're not in the wrong. It shows that they could give a crap,
Hmm.
even if they. Okay, so even if they give a crap totally,
Hmm.
like they're so invested in attending to you, but for
Hmm.
some reason there's a reason that this happened, this and that. Even if that's the case, all that matters, I mean, not all that matters, but is your end result. You're sitting there waiting for
Hmm.
something that never transpired because they who
Yeah.
knows what. So the end result is that you. How could they be trusted?
And, and I'm not heartless, okay? 9 o'clock rolls around, and I was willing to give the guy the benefit of the doubt because I know how this kind of thing works. You show up to an appointment to give an estimate at 8 o'clock, and it runs long. I get it. Things like that happen. I'm not expecting the dude to drop everything and send me a text saying he's running late when he's under the house or something like that. I'm not completely heartless. And I understand trucks break down, they get flat tires. But I've also worked jobs where I was radio dispatched or dispatched like they are. You call in when you have problems, and somebody from the office calls your appointments to reschedule or see if, you're willing to hang out. He's changing a tire. We're real sorry. But I didn't even get that. This was a no call, no show. And my attitude is no call, no show, no thanks.
What if you try and and write not an email, but like a handwritten, and mail it to them through the actual U.S. Post with your intentions of wanting them to give you an estimate.
I think a 1-star review on Google does much better. I feel better anyway. No, I haven't done that yet, but I might. I don't
And
know.
send them a little chocolate mint.
Yeah.
Like, but no, the reason I'm saying that is that anywhere you go now, anymore, not
Mhm.
anywhere, but it's like people are doing you a favor when you're trying to give them money for a product or this or that.
Yeah, I do get that overall vibe. When we had the skylight, when the skylight in the kitchen got beat up by hail and was cracked, I had one roofer come out and he said, okay, well, he came out, he got up there, he looked at it, and he came down and he said, okay, we'll email you an estimate. All of them did. And the email I got from him was, we don't feel safe. We're not going to replace your skylight because I don't want to send my crews up there. We don't feel safe replacing that skylight. And I'm like, well, ain't you kind of in the wrong business then? You know, the guy that replaced it, it was 45 minutes labor. And it was one guy alone put in a brand new skylight, you know? But it must be nice to have so much work you can turn down easy money like that.
It's it's just great. I don't feel safe going up on them. My crew don't. There's no way.
Yeah, you're kind of in the wrong business, you know? Steve says, have you priced stamps? It's not worth it to send a nasty note anymore. Exactly. And they're not going to read it anyway. Whoever opens the mail is going to read "Dear Assholes" and okay, and into the trash it goes. But they will pay attention to a 1-star review on Google.
Wow.
So I may or may not do it. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Would I be in the wrong if I were to say they didn't call me? They didn't show up for the appointment for the estimate, didn't call, made no contact with me at all. So no call plus no show equals no thanks. I'll take my business elsewhere. I don't know.
It's up to you. Are you saying give them a review?
Yes, give them a 1-star review.
Well, you could really mess them up because people do see that and take note.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's up to you. To be honest with you,
Uh,
try. I can't speak for you in your situation because if I were in your situation and I'd be pissed, let's say, or
mm-hmm.
upset, or like a little bit, thinking, well, what the heck is this? I might do similar one way or the other, but I I even would be lying if I told you because I was going to take the higher road now and say I opt for the least damage. That's true
Mm-hmm.
that I do that, but boy, have I had some doozies where the least
Yeah.
damage was not my choice whatsoever, and I went for the opposite.
Yeah.
Oh
I
boy,
mean,
dude, I've gone for the opposite quite a handful of times where I say, you know what, this offense shall not pass. Um, and it's been done to me too. I mean, so it's
mm-hmm.
like humans are funny that way, you
Yeah.
know.
I mean, um, and that's one reason why I call 3 or 4 different contractors out. And one came by yesterday. He was here for about 15 minutes, showed him what I'm looking for. He walked around to see which is the best place to put it. And he said, yeah, we can do this here. And he's working up 4 different quotes because there's 2 different mini split units that we could go with. And then he's going to quote if they run the electric or if I have the electric done by somebody else. So it's going to be 4 different quotes. And he says, you'll get it tomorrow, the next day, something like that in the email. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I've got another company coming out tomorrow and another one coming out Friday. We shall see what happens with that. But back to the company that was supposed to come out, and I'm trying to take the upper hand here. I do believe that leaving 1-star reviews is pretty petty sometimes. But then again, I also know that I'm not the only person who's had this issue with them. I can't be. So if they've got a track record of doing this kind of stuff, and I'll be honest, I didn't look to see if they do have a track record of this kind of thing. But, you know, if it saves somebody else waiting around for somebody that's not going to show up, maybe a 1-star review is what it takes.
Unless their website says we prioritize ultra safety.
Yeah, and it may very well be they don't think that this is a job that's going to pay enough money, because it is a fairly simple job, you know.
It
But
could be just that. It could just be that it's just that.
mhm.
Or it could have. Um, are we talking about this one or the skylight?
No, we're talking about this mini split. You know,
Oh, okay, okay.
it
I was,
it may not be, it may not pay enough. And you know what? I get that. But tell me, contact me. I'm an adult. I mean, the mustache should have given it away. I'm a grown up. I can take it. If you just don't think that, now this is not the kind of job we want to take on, cool. I'm good with that. I'll go on to the next person, because somebody out there wants the job. Hell, one guy already did.
somebody eventually, I would assume.
Yeah.
I
So,
mean, for goodness sakes.
well, and also it's the first week of June. So, as they call it, air conditioning season is starting. So I get it. They probably getting a lot of repair calls right now. But I also know that these guys like simple installations. There's nothing hard about installing a mini split. The reason I'm having it done professionally is because I want the installation warranty along with the warranty on the unit, you know. Because I, I know just enough to screw it up if I try to do it myself. And I don't have the tools to draw vacuum through the pipes and all that other good stuff. But um, I've always said that the hardest part of do it yourself, for me, the hardest part has always been knowing when not to. And the older I get, the easier it is to make that decision. So basically, it's like, look, that's what the pros get paid to do. Get that installation warranty, and along with the warranty on the unit itself. And if there's a problem, call them and tell them, get out here and fix it. I just soon have that option than me climbing back up on ladders and trying to put something in place when I'm, kind of guessing at it, because I've never done it before. So,
So yesterday I made a conscious decision to change things up. It's not that radical, but for me it is because I'm such a caveman. I decided to go to the mall, and instead of just going and just like in and out, I
mm,
decided to experience the mall and take my time
hmm,
and take under consideration the various different stores. I mean, if it was a shoe store, I'd look at it and move on.
yeah,
But stuff to do with the core, or you know, like the Asian experience store where there's like um,
the
like
rattan furniture and stuff like that.
and meditations, little sand,
Oh yeah, a little
little
Zen garden.
little Zen garden stuff, and
Yeah.
all that kind, and like bonsai type things. Um, I decided to take my time, and I went to the mall that I basically the only one we had around here where my mom worked, and I decided to go little by little
Hmm.
throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And a couple of things. One, it was a Monday,
Hmm.
and it was packed.
Really?
I mean, packed sounds like packed like
Hmm.
sardines, not that,
Yeah,
but
it was pretty busy.
there was plenty of people everywhere,
Wow.
and so that's one thing that I noticed. And I went up to the same spot at Jordan Marsh, which is no longer Jordan Marsh now. It's I think a Macy's,
Hmm.
and I went up to the second floor where my mom used to work, and just to I took my time looking at all the things. I did this consciously because I wanted to change or acquire uh, a perspective, just a little
Hmm.
journey, something simple. It's not, but the purpose of why I did it was meaningful, because it changed perspective. And I went and I saw where she, where she worked, which now it's just um, cutlery stuff, which it was back then, but there was a register there. Now there's not.
Hmm.
Um, Looked around, did all that, and walked out. And funny enough, I had interactions with a lot of people, or not a lot, but like a handful of people.
Hmm.
When you'd walk into the store, the natural thing is that they greet you.
Hmm.
I went into this fancy schmancy decor place,
Hmm.
and the lady, a Colombian lady, the owner of the place, was there, and they had furniture like with maybe a tiger on a table, made out of studded diamond looking, like stuff like that. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
you know, something you'd see in
Hmm.
a novella or something like that. I'm thinking to myself, who in Miami? Where are you gonna stuff that tiger sitting on the table? I mean, it's just stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, dude, that may be the most Miami thing I've ever heard of. It's a bright, bright, glittery tiger in the middle of your coffee table.
It really, no, that really isn't. It's almost not really. Well,
Okay,
it isn't in my experience, but
okay,
maybe a movie.
okay. So the question on everybody's mind is, what room did you put it in?
Oh yeah, no, it's really not.
Hmm.
But in any event, she was, friendly, this and that, and I decided to take my time and because usually public spaces, I'm like get it done and go, but I
Hmm.
wanted to switch to that, and so I said, "Oh," she asked me if I needed help. I said, "Oh, I'm just looking around," and she explained to me her business, this, that, and the other, and I I thought to myself, this store, renting the space and all the stuff in here, and the amount that the prices, um, how the heck do these people make? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Make the
Yeah.
cut. Um, and so I left there. I went here and there. I ran across just the last thing I'll say, but I ran across a store that was a comic shop
Hmm.
inside the mall with other things like
Yeah.
posters and stuff. But it had sort of a millennial vibe to it,
Yeah.
but yet it had comic books, like rows of comic books that were like from back in the 80s and beyond.
Hmm.
And so I went in, because usually I'll look at something, give it a once over, and just leave.
Yeah.
I'm done. Like, I'm not going to sit and examine, but I wanted to change my habit of doing that, where I
Hmm.
just go for practical things.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pause and go through it. So I went in there as well, um, and looked through the comic books
Hmm.
and looked at the different things and stuff. And when all it was said and done, I was probably in the mall for like maybe 2 hours.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah, maybe 2 hours because I went slow.
Hmm.
I did that like a kind of like a reset or a um, to experience the mall
Hmm.
as I used to experience it as a kid.
Hmm. And I was going to ask you just that. Was this the same mall you and your friends hung out in when you were a teenager?
Yeah.
So, did you go in looking to change your perspective of the mall then versus now? Or were you going to get a perspective of what it's like now?
Yeah, I went with the intention of changing, pausing the way I process information and the things that I focus on
Mm-hmm.
habitually, because there's cycles that we get in, and we
Yeah.
repeat, or at least I do. I mean, humans do anyhow,
Yeah, we're all creatures of habit, yes.
but I wanted to break from that
Mm-hmm.
to gain separation or distance from what I'm actively doing
Mm-hmm.
cyclically and change it up. I mean, people do this all the time, but I'm very,
Well,
I'll examine the same things over and over again endlessly. Like, again, I'll bring up the same thing in my mind. And I'll keep,
mm-hmm.
because I want to find what other things are. But I went there to separate, and in the process, I basically, just the last thing I'll say about this, um, it did that because it separated me from a routine of what I
Mm-hmm.
usually do, think, and this and that. Um, but it also gave me a hint at these people. I can't escape who I am, so
Sure.
I'm going to think the things that I think, and like there's no way you can't escape yourself.
Right.
Uh, and so I started thinking of these people live their lives in this environment,
Mm-hmm.
and in this environment, in a sense, it's like time stops.
Yeah.
Um, it really doesn't, but it does in a sense where you're cut off. Well, I was cut off from the internet, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
um, but these people are basically doing the manual things,
Mm-hmm.
and that's their experience. um, they're not necessarily up to speed with the various things happening, be it politically, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not, because they're not. Um, and there was a comfort in me looking at them, saying, what a great, you know, a setting. They're inside this structure, kind of like what we grew up with. These
Yeah.
malls. It's not the same stores not, there now,
No.
but
I bet it's not the same vibe either.
no, it's not the same vibe.
Well,
Yeah.
you've got a few years of experience behind you, but I actually like that kind of thing. Um, um, More with an eye to going to places where we used to go hang out a lot, just to see what time has done to it. Has time been kind to this place? And is it the same experience we had when we were younger? It could never be the same because the same friends you used to hang out with, obviously not, they're not there. The food court may be a little bit smaller and it may be nothing but kale smoothies now. So it's not anything you want to actually go get food from. But it's just what it comes down to is you and I were raised in an era where your social network and your social networking was all done face to face because we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have all these other digital distractions where people we have never seen face to face in our lives, people who we will have never met, uh, suddenly their input is important to us. Their thumbs up is real important to us, or their like on a video or whatever. When you and I were growing up, all that was done face to face. And it was either, man, that was a bullshit move, or cool, that's all right. All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something like that. You got your instant gratification came from the approval of the group that you hung out with, not some stranger in West Dump Truck, Tennessee. So it's a little bit different. I'd never heard the word social anxiety, uh, or the term social anxiety rather, until about 10 years ago. I'd never heard it. You know, there were kids who were introverts, and there were kids who were extroverts. You knew the kids in your neighborhood who would rather sit back and watch and not say anything. But then you always had that one kid who was up for anything. Jump in the canal off of the bridge? Sure, I'll do that, you know. I was that kid, you know, jump off the roof of the house or do whatever when you're 7 years old, you know, build up a big ass ramp and jump off it with your bike or what have you. But it was all done face to face. We were social animals at the time. And now it's so easy to isolate. And you know, I don't think it's good for people. I just don't think it's good for people. So you're talking about those people in the mall who work there and who live that life, whether they want to be or not, they're forced back into that type of a situation where that is their social network now. They may be up on all the politics and stuff like that, listen to the radio on breaks, and they still have their phones and stuff like that.
We don't know. My point is, we don't know all those things,
Right.
but my sense is that when I was there, it's like time slowed down,
Hmm.
you know, and I consciously held myself back from speeding through.
Yeah. Well,
Like
you
I
talk.
decided every little inch. I mean, I'm not talking about like walking slow, but
No, I
like
get it.
everything. I paused and looked at storefronts and went into the main anchor stores.
Hmm.
Looked at the clothing stuff. Uh, and thought to myself, really, I am like so. I'm a hermit type guy, dude.
Yeah, well, yeah. So Steve and I were right.
I
but
really am.
but but that's okay. It's okay to be a hermit, but it's also okay to get out every once in a while and do exactly what you did. Um, every time Linda and I have been to that mall here locally, and the mall was a big thing. I mean, they talked about it for 5 years before I left to go into the army, and I left in January of '82. It still hadn't been built. It was a gravel lot. It still hadn't been built. I came back 30 years later and it was built and it was empty. You go in there and maybe you see 6 people, 8 people. You know, they come in, they want to go to Bed Bath and Beyond. They don't even have to go into the mall. They can go around the outside, walk in the doors of Bed Bath and Beyond, get their sheets, get their, you know, cutlery or whatever it is, at pay, and then go right back out, get in their car, and never go into another store. When you and I mean, we hit every damn store except for the girls' clothes. You know, you didn't bother with the girls' clothing stores. But if there was a Spencer's Gifts, you bet I'm going to spend 15, 20 minutes going through the poster rack. I may not buy a poster, but I want to see what they got.
Right, that's what I did.
You know?
I tried to. Well, actually, I succeeded in that.
Mm-hmm.
I went slowly,
Mm-hmm.
looked at all the stuff. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
to change the input that I was receiving. And let me tell you the last part. I got in my car and I went. I was going to go to Walmart at the end of the round
Mm-hmm.
just to pick up some stuff and then come back home. But I was running out of gas, so I stopped at a gas station and I couldn't make a quick UE because the traffic was from here to Timbuktu. So I said, "Oh well, screw it. I'm going to go all the way down and just down the way on Flagler is the Mall of the Americas or Midway Mall originally."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "You know what? Screw it. I'm going to stop here." So I stopped there, and so this mall is much more not as active. It was active, but it's a little bit more. I don't want to say run down. It's an older mall. Um, there was a store that was our today's version of the dollar store,
Mm.
and it's $5 or something. It
Yeah.
said, and I was like, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
just a year or two ago, and now look at what we're looking at.
Yeah. I mean, Dollar Tree is now $1.50 tree, so yeah, I get it.
And I went in,
Hmm.
and I saw a lady there, and just for out of the blue, I said, "Do you come here often?" No. There's a lady there working there, and I said, Let me ask you a question. I'm looking for some. Oh, I had stopped at a Radio Shack as well for the same item. I was looking for a cassette player
Hmm.
so I could transfer my cassette stuff. Like we used to record our band sessions
Hmm.
on cassette back in the day. And but I don't have a cassette player, so I was thinking I could use some sort of mini jack to run it into either the computer or something. Like I haven't figured that
Hmm.
out yet, but she said, "Oh, I think here's where it should be. Is this what you're looking for?" And it was exactly that for $10.
Hmm.
However, the quality,
Hmm.
but I said screw it. I bought it and stuff, and I was able to for the first time in like 20 years hear hear my cassettes, and I was listening to them, but the audio is so low. I don't know if it's the crappy thing that I bought, or it's just that I
Well,
recorded things
yeah,
so.
it might be a combination of the two, but you got to turn the volume up on the record on the playback recorder,
Yeah, but
and then kind of mix it as you. What are you capturing the audio with? Audacity?
no, I haven't done that yet.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
played it straight through the earphones,
oh, okay, okay.
just
Because
to
there
hear it, you know.
because there is a way to equalize that, bring that up, mix it in Audacity.
Well,
So,
I listened to a bunch of I listened to a bunch of like me and my cousin Felix,
hmm.
Felix Giraldi, um, doing sessions where we played "It's Only Love" by the Beatles. Um what's that song from Elvis? You know I can't be found
Oh,
sitting here all alone.
don't be cruel.
Don't be cruel. Don't be cruel. Proud Mary.
Hmm.
Um, and other stuff. And then I I ran into a session with me and a few other friends at the warehouse, and I have that recorded. And there's like 10 minutes of us arguing. I insisted in that song. This was sometime in the 90s. I said, "Look, you've been singing." The drummer had a microphone, and he was singing, following my vocals. And I stopped and told him, "You know what, dude? On second thought, after all this time, I'm not, because his vocals, I guess, were bothering me. Like it wasn't the vision that I had." Um, and and he said, "Oh, but I've gotten used to singing it. I mean, what, And I was like, "Well, yeah, but in this situation, this was a new iteration of the band. But
Hmm.
in any event, it was a 10-minute long back and forth
Hmm.
over, and I could hear in his voice. Now that I'm older, I could hear what he was like. My offering, I was just thinking for the problem that I was. But now listening to, I can hear in his voice that he felt slightly hurt.
Hmm.
That I said, you know what, in this one, let's not do the backing vocals.
Yeah,
Um, I
don't
think,
sing with your mouth open.
yeah, like I was listening to that. But when you're a kid,
Yeah.
you're not considering as much other perspectives in terms of like you're just going for the thing. But now listening to it, I didn't even remember that was even a thing, that conversation we had, but it's recorded there. I'm gonna have to transfer it so I can really listen to what the hell I was arguing.
Hmm.
But I was emphasizing, and he was like saying, "No, but dude, I've been doing it so long and I like it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know, dude. It just doesn't fit, man. Let's not do it." This It almost sounded like um, Paul McCartney telling George Harrison not to play his guitar in
Yeah.
a third song.
Like you were taking away his only toy.
Yeah, yeah. But anyways, I did the mall thing, and it was enjoyable in that
Hmm.
respect. Um,
Okay. Okay. On the subject of the cassette recorder, you could get cassette recorders where um, you put an SD card in it, and then you play the cassette, and it will actually transfer over to the SD card.
Yeah,
You can put it in the computer.
yeah.
But, you know,
No, no, no. That's the thing. But I bought it
hmm,
thinking, oh, I'll just rig it.
yeah,
You know, um, but that's a whole project.
yeah,
Um,
I hear you. I hear you.
I got a truckload of CDs in there,
Hmm,
uh, or CDs, sorry, cassettes
yeah,
in a tub,
hmm,
and I've got some from my father
yeah,
that I have to sit and listen to as well.
yeah,
But that's a task.
yeah.
That's
Imagine.
something you have to sit with and transfer and figure that all out.
Linda says, once at band practice, my teacher said, yeah, you can play along, just don't make any noise. That's messed up. Just, fill up your bag and wiggle your fingers. Don't play any notes. Uh, Jamie says, make sure you have a pen or pencil on hand to rewind that cassette, though. Cassette decks rewind the tape for you. Of course, you have to physically do it, but you don't rewind a cassette. You play it through on one side, then you either take it out or you flip it over and play the other side. So, rewinding cassettes was never a thing, really, unless you want to hear that song over and over and over again.
There were situations where you would take a pencil and you would
Yep,
hold it back. I forget why. Um, at this point, because you could just press rewind.
yep.
But I do remember that, or maybe I just did it for fun. I don't know.
Or you got an old broke dick cassette player that the rewind don't work on it.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of those. The door fell off, so you just stick the tape in there and hope it stays through the whole, while it's playing. So,
Believe it or not, they had a cassette in that five or whatever store.
mhm.
Um,
Hey, you're ahead of me. I don't have a cassette player. I got two VCRs right over here I can put my hand on, and in fact, I just did.
I mean,
But
it's a little here. I'll show it for the heck of it, just for the memory of it.
well, some people still use those in offices and stuff to record meetings and what have you. Not everybody uses the digital side because it's just as easy to push one button and rewind it. Yeah, okay. Almost like a Walkman. Yeah.
Well, it is a Walkman.
Hmm.
Let me try to open it here.
Woohoo. Nice. But the volume on it through the headphone jack just ate all that, huh?
Um, it's got a radio.
Mm-hmm.
That's the volume,
It's pretty high speed there, homeboy.
and here's the front.
Yeah.
Let me see if it'll
AM/FM cassette, man. Styling, dude.
let me see if it'll focus. It focused before.
Oh, hell no. Nope. It ain't gonna do it. Hmm. Wish you could bring it up so it covers the whole camera thing.
I'm trying to see if it'll, because sometimes it'll just exact there. Nope.
Well,
And then
it's
on the
FM.
bottom,
Hmm.
it's got actually somewhere else it has some stuff I forget. But in any event, I got that for the heck of it. It plays.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, AM/FM radio cassette player. Why? Yeah. Why not?
You know, so whatever.
Even if it is a total piece of crap, you didn't spend a lot of money on it.
That's basically it. Um, but I could still try and transfer and see how that works out.
Hmm. Well, you can generally speaking capture through Audacity. So you just have to set up the input into Audacity, and then you can adjust the volume from there. And you can, put in a noise gate or what have you for the hiss, and then equalize the volume. That's what I do when I do my voiceover videos. I record with this microphone, and it's a screen capture, and it saves it into the screen capture program's native format. Then I export it as a MP4. Then I load the audio into Audacity, and I do all that stuff, noise gate, and then normalize the volume up to -4 decibels, and then take that. I go through and I cut out the spaces where I misspoke or did something, and then I take that over and I sync it back up with the video in my video editing software. Then make my edits from there, and it works out great.
I'm
Um,
gonna try that with that when I have the focus to do that particular task.
okay,
But
Audacity's a pretty cool, and it's free, but it's a pretty cool program. It's got a lot of power to it.
yeah, I have Pro Tools,
Mm-hmm.
but now I have it on the laptop,
Mm-hmm.
my old laptop, which does all that. Plus, but I'm used to working with Pro Tools. I haven't done that in a while, but
Yeah.
I would like to get Pro Tools set up on this thing. But
It
in any event, I
it
mean,
it
there's options.
depending upon the version, it may or may not work with Windows 10.
Yeah, I know.
But we can do that in the background, so we can talk about that if
Um,
you want to get
well,
into that.
here's a topic. I don't know how extensive this could go, but so have you heard of quantum computing?
Yeah, but I don't know much about it.
Okay, so quantum computing can do much more calculations than a standard computer
Hmm.
in a short amount of time. So it could take a problem that would take a long time, years, decades, or more,
Hmm.
and do it in a short moment.
Hmm.
The difference between a quantum computer and a regular computer is that regular computers work with ones and zeros,
Hmm.
and a quantum computer works with, I think the naming, I'm going to say the name right, quantum bits or
Okay.
something. That's what it's called, or something similar.
Hmm.
And the the processor of a quantum computer has these little light dots
Hmm.
on the chip or whatnot, and the lights can range through different colors.
Okay.
And so what happens is that when you ask it something, those lights change subtly to different color frequencies, and the combinations of those creates an answer that you were looking for.
Okay.
Then it's processed back into a ones and zero type thing, and then the information comes to you. But here's the thing about that: quantum computers is the similar principle as the double slit experiment, where when you're not observing the the photon,
Hmm.
it reacts one way, but the moment you put observation onto it, it acts different.
Hmm.
Um, the computer's doing the same. So here's the thing: what it's doing is it's in a state of all possibilities are available. And the moment you ask it, it collapses all the possibilities to give you the highest probability, the answer. And it's nuts. because it's basically working in that same principle. Let me turn off the AC because it's cold. It's working
Okay.
in that same principle.
Okay. Yes, qubits. You're talking about QUBITS.
Qubits.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Quantum computing uses the principles of quantum mechanics like superposition and entanglement to perform calculations faster than classical computers, potentially solving complex problems currently intractable. It leverages specialized hardware, including superconducting circuits or trapped ions, to manipulate qubits, the fundamental unit of quantum information. Quantum information, excuse me. Okay.
It's pretty incredible. But I started researching it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the superposition
Mm-hmm.
is the state where all possibilities
Yeah,
are sitting waiting.
right. These
When, go ahead.
principles allow quantum algorithms to explore a vast number of possibilities simultaneously, leading to faster computation. Um, it differs from classical computing, which uses bits 0 or 1, by using qubits, which can be a superposition of both 0 and 1 simultaneously. Okay.
Yeah, it's radical because it's mimicking this thing that we observe in the real world
Yep.
through that experiment where um, the particle is waiting for you to observe it.
Mm-hmm.
That is mind blowing. Mind blowing.
Yep.
That suggests, it can mean anything, but it suggests, or it initiates the question: Does the particle is the particle aware? It has to be. There has to be a relationship occurring. Something is happening where just because you observe something, it changes this external thing to do something different than it would do without you observing it.
Okay. Okay.
So, in other words, this other thing is looking to you to observe it for it to behave different than it would otherwise behave. And that goes into an area that questions what the heck is going on in reality. Because if items all around us, in this case photons in the double slit experiment, is contingent on our observation of it, um, there's more to reality than what we are programmed to as we grow up. Like, it's not just that there's a cup, there's a this, there's a that. No.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's true, but that it is a cup, it is a this, it is a that, but it's something else is happening. Something else is happening that is, at least I can. I mean, I'm sure that if we asked AI or something, that they could give us an answer. But it's I think it's a mystery.
Well, it's still in its infancy, so we'll see where it goes. I mean,
I don't
um,
know.
well, it was, let's see, let me bring that page back up. Hello? Oh, wrong one. There we go. Um, it, it's still in its early stages. Quantum computing is making significant strides in hardware and software development. Current quantum computers are used for research and development, exploring algorithms and building more powerful machines. And so they're actually using the quantum computers to build better quantum computers. So it's still in its early stages yet. We'll see what happens. I mean, we may end up, you know, this may be the equivalent to the 1950s when it comes to having a PC in your home. Because back in the 1950s, a computer capable of running any kind of a simple program was the size of your house or bigger. And now we've got it in this little bitty processor chip inside this tower. The cooling system for this processor is bigger than the processor itself.
Yeah,
So, it's we'll see what happens in a few years. And it might just shift over to where we all have quantum computers, 50 years down the road.
but the thing is that I'm focused on, yeah, the computer part, but is that it's replicating what exists in our reality as is.
Well, I didn't get that from what I read, but maybe you read further into it than I did.
No, because you're reading the computer aspect. So so whatever. So here's the thing: when they did the double slit experiment,
Hmm.
they shot a photon through a slit,
Hmm.
um, and then they did two slits and so on and so forth. When they observed the experiment, the light, the photon, hit the wall and showed a pattern.
Hmm.
When you did it again without observing it, when there was no human observing it, it produced another pattern. And this is a repeatable experiment.
Hmm.
And what the way it ties into this quantum computing is that what this is suggesting is that the 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 the, poss- the reaction of the photon is contingent on the observer.
Hmm.
There's something about observing or not observing that alters something outside of you. Your observation, what it's suggesting is that your observation of
Hmm.
things react to your observation. It's not that you're just observing reality. You're not just observing reality. Reality is taking note of your observation and then collapsing all possibilities. This is the explanation in my way. All possibilities. So it imagine Mark Lindsay walking through a door. Mark Lindsay knows that he walked through a door.
Hmm.
But before Mark Lindsay walked through that door, there's an option where Mark Lindsay doesn't walk through the door, walks right up to the door but doesn't go through it, and any combination of what Mark Lindsay would potentially do before walking through that door exists simultaneously until Mark makes the decision.
Okay, I see what you're getting at. I see what you're getting at. Okay.
So you can turn off the lights or turn on the lights when you walk into the room or decide to not go into the room or this or that. But here's the problem with the whole, or not the problem, but the mystery of it. Instead of that scenario that I just explained, it's as if, in my example, you can, the door and the whole room and the whole everything is dependent on your observation. It's what's outside of you is waiting for you to decide. Uh, Once you
Yeah,
focus all variations,
but
or
that
once you, What's that?
But that kind of contradicts itself because it's not based on observation; it's based on action,
No,
right?
I'm
Because it's 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 waiting on me to make a decision. Am I going to go through that door? So it's less about observation than it is an action.
no, I'm using the example
Hmm.
in a different way, but the flat out way to say, I'm using the example to show the
Yeah.
relationship between you
Well.
in a position of pause,
Hmm.
and in that position of pause, all the options of Mark Lindsay doing different things are available.
Right.
But once he proceeds to do, now I understand that you're saying, well, that's different
Yeah.
than action and
Well,
observation. But go ahead, go ahead. You have.
I think a better example would be Schrodinger's cat because that directly has to do with observation. Schrodinger's cat is basically it's a thought experiment that goes something like if you have a lead line box and you put a cat in that box and close it,
He's both dead and
he's
alive.
both dead and alive at the same time
Yeah.
because you can't observe it. You will only know if the cat is dead or alive if you open that box. So the state of that cat while you can't observe it is he's both dead and alive.
Yeah. So
So
going to the photon thing, the reason it's important, and that's I guess this is another version with the cat. Um, they've observed that the photon
mhm,
creates a different pattern depending on whether you observe it or not.
mhm,
That is significant because your observation is what um, the outcome of the pattern of light depends on you collapsing possibilities and that moment of observation. What it's suggesting is that um, it's suggesting some crazy stuff like parallel universes simultaneously happening at the same time, convergence of things or things universes collapsing. You're involved in a constant progression through life where all possibilities are available, but you're the Mark Lindsay that turned left around the corner. There's endless amounts of Mark Lindsays that went the other direction. I mean, it's suggesting all these things,
mhm.
and this is replicated with the quantum computer.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane because we don't naturally, all we think is one moment happens after the next. That's all we, like right now we're having one moment after the next as far as I can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
moment I said that, according to this, the conclusions and thoughts and theories, is that the moment I said that, there's an Eloy that said something else, and then there's a Mark Lindsay that said something else in reaction to that, different than you and me right here, right now, and it just forks out and forks out. It just continues to branch out, and it's that's basically, at least the way that I can say it, that or am able to say it, that they're suggesting that reality, there's something happening in reality apart from what you and I and all of us see as natural,
Mhm,
which is this linear, you know, one thing after the other situation. So the computer is doing that
mhm,
in this case, where they have, it's calculate, once you ask it a question to solve a problem, whatever, its state is holding
mhm,
all these possible branches, and the moment you ask it, they all collapse, and the lights, those little pin dots, give the different frequency lights to and then it's translated through a software within the computer into ones and zeros, and then you get the answer.
Hmm.
It's using that principle of superposition where everything is possible at the same time.
Right.
It's insane.
Well, we kept asking about what's going to be the next big thing, you know, and we kept saying we don't know, we don't know, we don't know. This may be the next big thing. I was kind of looking more towards what's going on in CERN, Switzerland, but this may be the next big thing. This may be the next big breakthrough.
I wonder if I think I don't know if this is true. I think that the, no, it's not the same thing with artificial intelligence. Um,
Well, the article that I just read on it, just briefly scanned, said that that could be one of the outcomes of this is they're using it to create better AIs. Now, what they classify as a better AI, that's, left up to the observer again, no pun intended. Because a better AI may be one that creates a better image to me, but it may be one that creates a better paragraph to you. Because it depends on what the AI is being used for, the user and the AI that you're using.
in the movie, which you, as far as I know, didn't see, The Matrix.
No, I haven't seen it. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I have not sat down to watch the whole movie.
So in that movie, it's showing a future dystopia
Mm-hmm.
where human beings are living in cocoons, being used as food or energy for the machines that took over. The humans created the machines.
Mm-hmm.
The machines became advanced and autonomous, and then the machines started to take over, and then they took over the human beings, and they were then bred in cocoons as energy. But in order to keep them in a state of whatever, they were given like a world called the Matrix,
Mm-hmm.
in which they think they're in 20th century Earth, living their lives, but they're really inside cocoons. But the concept is that these machines took over and then were being manipulated, um, and we think that we know reality, but reality is actually a much more dystopian world. And so anyhow, what we have now is the beginning. I'm not trying to say in a fantastical way, but you could say it's the beginning of something that could very well easily go dystopian to extremes or any number of possibilities, but one of the, it could be just another thing, but that's not where the direction is headed at all.
Yeah.
Because what's happening with AI is that they're taking it and governments are using it to plot the strategies of other governments. And depending on so if we let machines think for us, as opposed to like, Noah observes the atmosphere
Mm-hmm.
and then gives out the predictions and all that, that's one thing. But if the people stop thinking and let the machines do the thinking for them, oh boy.
And we've had many cinematographic cinemat cinema.
Cinematographic.
We've had many movies that have depicted exactly that scenario. And that's what one of the fail safes when it comes down to the AI. The AI can't think for itself yet. It can't think for itself. It needs that input. You have to ask it. You have to get it moving. It takes a person to make it do whatever. It's not going to just sit there and spit out random facts about, you know, the Brian Setzer Orchestra. You have to ask it about it. And then it's happy to, it's kind of like a, in many ways, it's like the golden retriever of the computer world. Very rarely initiates any activity of its own, but it's more than willing to join in when you are,
Oh,
you
okay. So
know.
that leads to the difference between the Matrix
Hmm.
and the current and potential leaning
Hmm.
direction we're going, as opposed to the machines becoming autonomous and taking over. At least now, what we're seeing in current time is that people in positions are using the machines
Hmm.
for their end goals.
Hmm. Well,
Not that the machines are the tool to automate decision making, at with best outcomes predicted for humans with interests in all sorts of crazy things.
sure. But
So in other words, the dystopian potential here is that all these people around the world that run countries and such and this and that become so reliant on the predictable models that AI uses that they start to rely on machines to say, "Hey, this is what's up," as opposed to their fellow politicians that are, what do you call it, voted in by the
hmm
public. Like the human element is discredited, and the predictive model of a computer is highlighted.
well, but and the reality of it is the computers, the machines can give us all the input in the world the way our system currently is. It still takes a human to make the decision. It still takes human action. Um, and that is the fail safe. At the height of the Cold War, for example, everybody was worried about mutually assured destruction, which actually worked, by the way. Mutually assured destruction was basically our policy with the Soviet Union, in that if you launch your nukes, we're launching ours as well. So all that's going to be accomplished is both countries are going to be destroyed. Because I'm going to take you with me. You know, if you
Yeah,
launch a nuke, we both die. And that was the deterrent that kept both sides from being the one to launch.
yeah,
That's at the top level. You also have to go, you filter all the way down to the guys in the silos who have the keys. Two guys 10 feet apart, so no one person can operate both keys. Both keys have to be put into the locks and turned simultaneously. So there is no way for one person to do it because you don't have 10-foot reach. If one of those people just says, no, I'm not turning this key, the system breaks down. Or if one of those people in between, because the president is not telling the guy in the silo, turn the key, it's filtering down through various levels of command. If one of those levels of command breaks down and says, no, I'm not giving the order to launch, the system breaks down and nothing happens. So it always comes down to human action or inaction before action is taken, uh, before any action takes place. That has to be left in. That has to be kept in because that's what avoids mistakes. You
you know
know?
how long we've been using AI in
Ouch. Go ahead. Sorry.
you know how long we've been using AI, or governments have been using AI?
Oh, since its inception, because they before you had intelligence analysts that were taking all of that information. Think about the thousands of bits of information, and they were collating all this information to come up with a conclusion. Well, now the AI can take care of all that stuff. We've been relying on AI since its inception.
So in the Bush era,
Mm-hmm.
AI wasn't developed enough to.
Mm-hmm.
They knew about it and so on, but it wasn't something that in the Obama era
Mm-hmm.
it started to take significant shape.
Mm-hmm.
He signed legislation for it on how to guide it, on how it would be treated going forward, this, that, and the other. In Trump's first era, it was already advanced. During Biden's era, and used, and in Biden's era, it was used
Mm-hmm.
in government. For ease of data, this, that, and the other,
Yeah, for collating a whole bunch of information and breaking it down. Yeah.
and retrieving it and so on and
Mm-hmm.
so forth, like quickly and all that. And now in Trump's era, um, that's why they're pushing for all these mineral, rare earth, this,
Mm-hmm.
that, and the other, just to produce all these things. Um,
Produce chips. Yeah.
Now we're seeing it, us in the public, with stuff like what Jim said last week about
Mm-hmm.
like images or video or
Mm-hmm.
images with five fingers and this and that. Um, but now it's everywhere. Governments, like let's say I'm from the country of Ooga Booga, um, I'll take AI and I'll input all the known stats about other world leaders
Mm-hmm.
and their countries and their populations and all this, that, and the other, and then predict what their next moves will be in accordance with the pressures from other surrounding countries, population, disgruntled or not, and this and that. Like they're basically plotting out best case scenarios of what will happen or not, and then they're plotting their future direction through policy and this, that, and the other with that as that tool. Meanwhile, another country being aware of that can't be left in the dark not using such a tool, so they ramp up their AI
Yeah.
capabilities with more, and so you have a technological war per se,
Yeah.
war,
It's
you know.
it's it's an information arms race is what it is. And they've been talking about that for quite a while. Now, they just recently switched to using AI, relatively speaking. But before that, again, they were relying on computers and data analysis,
Yeah,
intelligence analysts. So, the AI doesn't make all the decisions. In fact, it makes very little. It makes very few decisions. It just is used as a faster way to predict what this world leader, what he's thinking, how he would respond based on history and based on the knowledge that they have gathered in those data sets to feed their AI. They're all still special AIs. We have not gotten a general AI yet. We're still working with special AIs, and those are AIs that are created for a specific task. We've not achieved a general AI yet. So, a general AI is the one that everybody is afraid of, that it's going to take over and what have you. We ain't there yet. We're a ways away.
that's maybe not the that.
It's
Go ahead.
being worked on, but
Yeah, but
we're
that's
still years away.
okay. So I guess that would be a thing, but that's not. I mean, that's not even. So the problem is already
Mm-hmm.
a problem because it doesn't matter that there's one mainframe and then it controls the world and this and that. I mean, that would be in the thing,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not even necessary in this version that we exist in now.
Mm-hmm.
People are people are still the ones that make the decisions. That's
Right.
the problem is that they're allowing more of the computer to do or the AI to do the outcome analysis, and they are, so if you have a human group of a council, and then you have this computer, and you go to the computer, and it predicts out what the best course of action to topple a foreign economy, or to better control your
Right.
population based on
Okay.
uprisings and so on, any number of those things.
Mm-hmm.
um, and then you have your council of politicians.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem will be when the council of politicians, which are human beings, are subverted or supplanted by following
Well,
the instructions that the computer or the AI is dishing out.
well, I guess I'm just not as I guess I'm just not that pessimistic because the AI is a tool, but it's only one tool, and there are so many other voices, and we as people still maintain enough built-in skepticism and built-in cynicism that we, even today with all the things the AI can do, we still nitpick at it because we don't trust it. It's a machine. We nitpick at the responses. We nitpick over the fact that it shows five fingers on a thumb. We nitpick at the fact that you'll see five fingertips out here plus a thumb for six fingers. But when you look at the palm, there's only four fingers joining the palm. Where the hell's that other finger? You know, it we can pick out the errors easily. Trusting the AI 100% to make decisions for you, I think if you are going to do that as a leader, you are capable of doing that anyway. The AI just justifies, you're using the AI's justification. Um, it's kind of like this same argument was going on in the 80s and early 90s about the computers making the decisions for us. And it simply was never the case. The computers weren't making the decisions, the computers were feeding the information. But it's just one data stream. There are so many people involved, and it has to stay that way. That human element has to stay there because when that human element is removed, and we're getting cliched here with all kinds of movies. Think of the movie War Games. The movie War Games, one of the guys down in the silo refused to turn his key. So they decided with that kind of failure, they can't do that. They have to have the computer there to turn, quote unquote, turn the key. Let the computer, once it receives the command, it's going to launch until a false signal comes in. And the only information people are listening to is the computer that's saying launch. And once you push that button, send that code, it's going to launch whether there's any thought going into this or not. You know, that they have, it's once they remove the human element that you have the problems.
Well, in the scenario that you're following, but it's not just the scenario you're following. It's not that narrative that's one
Mm-hmm.
option, but it's not the only. There's many things running parallel.
Sure.
It's not just that. So AI is at the same time a useful tool,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time a threat to humanity.
I don't see it that yet. That yet.
Oh,
I don't see
I
that yet.
I know you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't. You've made it clear. Um, but I do, and the reason I do is because one, what I mentioned, that I agree with you that we have to keep it with human interaction involved, where they make the final decision and they argue the point, which is the healthiest thing because we're human and we want that always present, because a computer or somebody using it to guide the future plans, um, and relying on its calculations, as accurate as they might be in the vast options that it gives you. Hey, what's the best method considering all the data available so that ball machines become popular again, as a ridiculous
Yeah.
example. And then it will calculate out all these variations, and it'll say economically what you would need to do, culturally what you would need to do, policy wise what you would need to do, politically what you would need to, messaging, media, like just all the all
Hmm.
these things in order to produce the outcome that you want. The problem is when human beings, as we know, so one thing is for you to say, if you're a politician or a person in power, hey AI, under this topic, what is the best outcome so that the majority of my population has the best experience and security and whatever under this topic. And then it lays out various things. That's different than a person in a position of power saying, "Hey, AI, what's the best way to do X, Y, and Z?" But they leave out the human element of like, and the best for the population. Like, depending on how you ask depending
Hmm.
on the machinations of certain countries that are using machines that are much more
Hmm.
capable than what we have as far as AI. These are government run things and stuff.
Right.
Um, Depending on the human plus the speed of technology, it could become a very if people start relying more on the machines than human beings, that's a problem. But now there's people involved, and there always will be. The problem is the combination of the two. But worst, or not worst, but just as bad, is that the more AI expands in terms of being ubiquitous and used and this and that, the more, just like the horse and the car, the more jobs, positions will become automated flat out. I mean, this is what they
Yeah.
so things like, well, whatever industry that requires any number of that people actually work in, it's little by little, bye bye. Like, there's a lot of stuff now that we can
Oh
do on,
yeah.
so it's going to
Uh,
increment.
I've said that repeatedly. If it's even remotely possible for a machine, a computer, an AI to do your job, one day it will do your job.
Yeah.
So you need to have a plan B. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're at the drive through at McDonald's or you're the CEO of a multinational corporation. You better have a plan B, because if there's even the remotest possibility that a machine can lift that French fry basket better than you can, it's going to lift that French fry basket and you're going to be looking for a job,
Yeah.
you know?
The thing is
So,
that it's going to do that in so many areas of life, and the
but
population. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
up at the decision making level, also what I mean by that human element is the AI is one tool. And believe me, the guy pushing the buttons up there, the president, let's say, he's not looking at the AI.
No.
The
Huh?
intelligence agencies are looking at the AI. The president's not using it. His advisors are. And his advisors are the human element. And he's got more than one advisor. He's got teams of advisors because he has them for the economy, he has them for military, he has them for Department of State. There are so many uh, sources of information coming in. The AI can be used as a tool, but it's not replacing the people, is what I'm getting at. And that's all part of that human element as well. Now, your scenario that you're portraying is a dictator who is using the AI to help him make the decisions. And he's acting on the information that the AI has given him. But he's a dictator. And even if he didn't have an AI, he's got people giving him information that he alone is going to act upon because he's making all of the decisions. There's no check, there's no balance, there's no nothing there. He can decide he's going to war with the neighboring country because he doesn't like the color of their shoes and use the AI to try to second guess their defense plans and, what's the best course of action to take to completely and totally blindside them so that they never see this coming.
So let me see. Just
And
like
and I'm
go
not saying that those people don't exist. They exist. We've seen them throughout history. I mean, does the name Idi Amin mean anything to you? If he had an AI to help him in his adventures, I mean, Africa would have a completely different makeup right about now.
okay, so let me answer some of those points. I'm not necessarily saying
Hmm.
that what I'm describing is a dictator.
Hmm.
Sure that you can, but you can sure see it from here.
Yeah,
Um, isn't that one of yours?
yeah. He's not a dictator, but you can see one from here.
You see how I grabbed from the back?
Exactly.
I'm not necessarily suggesting that framing.
Hmm.
That's one area of
Hmm.
possibility,
Yeah.
likelihood.
Hmm.
I'm talking about a world, this world, where countries around the world are relying more and more on advanced AI systems
Hmm.
to calculate out strategic and preemptive, looking forward decisions
Hmm.
that are so intricate.
Hmm.
Let me say my bitches that are so intricate with so many moving parts
Hmm.
in order to reach an objective, avoid an outcome, and they look at economies and shipping and all sorts of variables,
Hmm.
military abilities. I mean, just layers and layers to hone in plans that are more viable, less viable, and
Hmm.
then and so and what I'm saying is that if one country is doing it, let's say China,
Hmm.
let's say it could be anything. It could be any country in Europe. It could, let's just say one. All other countries, in order to match or exceed
Hmm.
or keep up, need to rely more on that very same technology.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say about this, it's not we just met you and now we're going to stay here for a decade.
No.
It's incrementally
Hmm. Yeah.
increasing.
That's that information arms race that I was talking about. That
So
technological arms race. Yeah.
so because of that exponential growth through shorter periods of time
Hmm.
and people plotting out future outcomes and strategies, that technological war that your arms race that you're talking about is accelerating,
Hmm.
making decisions making decisions or to soften the blow, ir- respective countries and
Hmm.
their leaders are involved in these calculations out
Hmm.
with the hassles of the moment. But so there's the potential for skipping the human element and saying in order to reach this goal we have to do all these things and we have to do it within this time span, whether or not populations suffer, are hindered, or any other variation. In order to get from A to B, we have to do this because this is the best outcome we can have to defend against X, Y, and Z country, and so on. So this panorama picture painting that I've painted, um, I'm not inventing it. I've been
No, it's existed for 100 years. It's called
no
it's called yes, it's called the intelligence network. What
right. but on that level, when I'm talking about AI, that introduction of
AI
AI.
is just a tool. AI is just a tool. We were doing that before with computers, and before that, we were doing that with advisors, and before that, we were doing with people. Believe me, I'm here to tell you right now, locked away in a safe somewhere at the Department of Defense, are the plans to invade every country on this earth. Pers- uh, the personnel and equipment that's needed, the possible outcomes, the possible alliances we can make with this, the possible alliances we can break with this. We have plans on how to invade the UK and win. We have plans on how to invade Germany and win. We have plans on how to invade Israel or Russia. You name the country. We have plans on how to invade it and win. We do that for multiple reasons, but we do that as an exercise to see what it would take to do it. We have plans on how to cripple the economies of every country on this planet because it's an exercise to see how we would succeed, the steps we would have to take to succeed should we want to do that. And every country on the planet has plans on how they're going to invade and defeat us. They have to, because eventually, one day, they may need to defend themselves against us. Should we get a president who feels froggy and wants to jump? So that is nothing new. The only thing that's new is AI is making those equations faster because we can take all of the intelligence gathered and we can collate that intelligence quicker using AI than we ever could in a boardroom with a committee full of intelligence analysts. We have entire departments dedicated to this, and they are all using AIs. So, yes, it's being done today. I'll agree with you on that 100%.
There's no doubt about it. Actually,
No, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt in my mind that the minute Chat GPT came out, somebody at the DoD said, wait a minute, let's try this. And it's also quite possible, let's not forget, that Chat GPT came from military exercises and the military developed it. I mean, the very service that we're using right now, the internet, the worldwide, well, not the World Wide Web, but the internet was a military secret until the 1990s.
so let me say, um, so my dad always said
Mm-hmm.
that, son, when something comes out on the store shelves, you can rest assured that 10, 15, 20 years prior, the military was
Yep.
using it. So I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll say like this: from my vantage point, the world we knew
Mm-hmm.
is done.
Well, you can say that in a number of ways. Yeah. In a number of ways, the world we knew was done. It's gone.
The 20th century world
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gone.
that I'm very fond of, extremely, where all my values, understanding of how, which we all still carry
Mm-hmm.
with us. We're doing it now the way we, but we're still of today now. We're from then, but we're
Mm-hmm.
currently here. Um, but all those things that are, there's no price that I can put to it because it's everything that's foundational to me, how I grew up, the way people interact, the things that value. Well, that and this tech world,
Mm-hmm.
and specifically the way. So the suggestions are, obviously I can't read the future and I'm not
Yeah.
AI, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But the suggestions are, and they're not just willy-nilly suggestions. There's people, I mean,
Yeah.
the information, if we wanted to verify or debunk this,
Mhm.
we all have the ability to do it in a split second. If we do
Yeah.
it in good faith and look, okay, let's see
Hmm.
what exactly are the dangers of AI. If we sat and looked at it, and we'd get it done quicker using AI, by the way. But
Yeah.
but the information is open and easily accessible without any inkling of now. It could be that they've structured a huge lie for us to believe, like the conspiracy theory of one after all
Yeah.
that. The point is that this acceleration thing, we used to go through periods. When we started the 20th century, we weren't around, but
Hmm.
um, things started to progress even quicker than before
Yeah.
and before. And by the time we got through the
Yeah.
center hurdle of that last century,
Mhm.
things just explode. Things got
Yeah.
rapid. But even though um, are now with this AI stuff, the time frame of rapid explosion and like advances and such, not in every single thing. We still have fuel cars and this, that, and the other. But it seems to me, I'm going to tell you this that we're going too fast is first of all is my thing in terms of all this tech. But who am I to say that? I'm more comfortable with a slower pace. And in fact, this matches with me going to the mall and this and that. But I like a slower pace. I don't want rapid transitions of human populations into unexpected, shifts just on the whim of world leaders deciding to this guy bombing over
Well,
here, that guy trapezing over here, the other one doing that, and this.
well,
I don't personally feel that that's nice. I'd rather incremental change, like things change, but incremental. Let people adapt, to dip their toes in the
that's
water,
that also is not applicable anymore.
and that's not exactly. And that's
But
my personal. I don't like it.
it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing or that it spells evil. Okay?
Yeah,
It's something you don't like because of the pace of it, but it doesn't necessarily mean evil. You know, there are people who still, they're in their 90s, they've never touched a computer. They think that this is going way too fast and all of this tech stuff. These are the folks that still have Roman numerals on their watches and still use a dial telephone because they don't even trust the new push button kind. Get that push button doohickey away from me. There are people who think that way, that the technology moved too fast and an incremental increase is one thing. That stopped after 1946. That incremental increase went away. It's been 100% foot to the floor maximum acceleration. That is not going to change because everything we hear about today was invented 10 years ago. We're just now hearing about it. And when somebody invents one thing, someone is going to take a piece of that and use it to invent another. And it's going to leapfrog that way as well. You're going to get that level of advancement. And the more people that get involved in it, the more research laboratories, the more universities, the more MIT graduates who get involved in it, the faster it's going to go. Because each one of them is going to focus on one thing. But all those individual one things are adding up to the explosion that we're seeing now. We lit the fuse in 1946, and it's a slow explosion, it's a slow burn. It seems rapid to us, but let's stop for a minute, back up, and think about it. It's quite possible quantum computing could mean the death of AI. Because with quantum computing, you don't need an AI. And AI will be relegated to the chat GPT story creation and the image creation that people are using with their home lasers to make art to sell. You know?
Oh,
It
so the, the we can toss
mhm,
AI for quantum computing or something even beyond triple X double digit quantum
mhm,
parallax compute, like whatever we could shift those sands around.
mhm.
Currently the tech, however instance of tech, is relied on more and more areas of life, but not just um, regular people stuff. It's
Mhm.
the concern. So it's chicken and egg at the same time.
Well,
Because,
it
well,
and it
let
and
me
it's
just
a real concern. It's a valid concern. But go ahead.
the concern is those people
Mhm,
that we entrust to follow the look. Obviously,
mhm,
a computer in certain ways is more efficient than a human being
mhm.
in terms of that kind of stuff, collating. Um,
Retrieving data. Yeah.
but that's not the limit of it.
No.
It's also this issue with me wanting the best. I ask it, the AI, the best solution for a problem or obstacle that I have,
Mhm.
and then it outlines it, how to achieve it, what are the processes to get there, and this and that. If that means a certain amount of people get the shaft along the way, and my ethical considerations are non-existent, or my ethical considerations are I have to weigh between stability in the now for the long game, so people have to deal with it now, and so my decisions are like, this is what all these governments, this is all this stuff. So just the final thing, so this AI thing, the idea that a human being will not use it for good or bad, or this, it's sort of like this. I used to use Google, and I would type how to fix a faucet, and then Google would give you the videos. I don't even do that anymore. I go to AI, and it lists all the links, plus gives me summaries and options, whatever I want. So it's more efficient. Would I, in any real scenario, stop using AI and go back to just typing on Google?
That's going to depend on whether you're getting good information or bad information out of the AI.
Let's say we're getting better information. Let's say we're getting more efficient information and
Okay,
more
then
readily.
yes, you would want to use the AI. However, that's only one tool at your disposal, and at the end of the day, you're the one with the wrench, not the AI.
Right, that's why I brought in the ethical question, and that's why I brought in the question of short-term
Well,
immediate sacrifice or goals with long. So for the long term, am I willing to do whatever it takes to reach
well,
my
that's
goal?
that's that's going to be that's always been on the person in charge. That is 100% you, and you don't have to go that far back in history to see how that's gone. Okay, there are always going to be people that are willing to sacrifice 22 million. I'm talking about you, Joseph Stalin, for the good of the many. You know, there are always going to be people who are willing to do that, kill off half of their population for the betterment of society at large. But there are also going to be people who take that information with a grain of salt, and that's one source. Now I've got 30 other sources. Let's get those 30 in there, and we're going to weigh and balance things. And we're going to try to come up with the correct course of action. And no one person or entity is going to be the deciding factor. Calmer heads usually prevail unless you've got darkness in your heart. In which case, it doesn't matter what tool you're using. If you've got darkness in your heart, a hammer is as good as a sword. So, you know, I while I agree it's something to watch, it's something to think about. I don't see it automatically going there
Going where?
to the darker sides. I don't see AI as the threat that you see it as. And I'm not saying that either one of us is right because currently we just don't know. But here's something to think about from Momo Adad. Welcome back, by the way. Sometimes I think AI will reach a level where it ends itself. Humans can really drive insanity to anything. Yeah, you yourself have made the AI just give up and shut down. So, I mean, there is a possibility there. Um,
AI will
but
go ahead.
but I see this. You introduced me to quantum computing, and I've done a little bit of looking at it. Seems to me that that as that is developed and perfected, that's going to be much better than AI. So why would you even use AI? Because remember, what the AI is it's a reflection of the data that it's building off of the internet, the home of herbal Viagra and penis extension. You know, think of all the crap that's on the internet that's just patently false or is, although well intentioned, misinformed.
Right, but
That's going to be cycled through that AI as
you're
well.
you're 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 you're, you're shrinking the the complexity of AI.
Because
You're
that's where
you're
we're at right now.
well, I mean, we're not.
Well, governments are using AIs again. We have entire departments of the government that are creating their own AIs.
That
Yes.
that you just said,
Mm-hmm.
this idea of false information,
Mm-hmm.
um, that
Well,
concept that you're attaching to AI,
mm-hmm. Well, dude,
if
I've experienced it myself. But go ahead.
I mean, well, go ahead. And what have you experienced?
I've looked into just using Google's AI that's on Google, looking for how to do something in my software that I teach. I couldn't remember how to do something, and I couldn't find the video that explained it. So I said how to do this in Vectric VCarve Pro, and it gave me a big old long list of how to do what I wanted to do, and about a third of that information was 100% incorrect because it was trying to get me to access tools that are not available in that software. And it was trying to show me screens that don't exist in that software. It was taking those screens from another software from a different company.
So,
So you're trying to fix your Ford engine. It does you no good to read a Chevy manual. That's what it was giving me, parts out of the Ford manual and parts out of the Chevy manual.
so when I have recently, when I saw that Greg said Google uses AI now. Get with the 20th century pro. When you type something in on Google,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see that it works
Mm-hmm.
to use its AI to help
Mm-hmm.
you get to it,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it just vanishes because there's nothing AI
Mm-hmm.
related for it. Okay, that's Google.
Now, but
And Google,
something that needs to be said about that Google AI.
you know where I'm going with what I'm about to say?
I just want to throw
Okay,
something in here for you to consider. If you look down at the bottom of that AI answer from Google, right at the bottom it says Google Google AI results may include errors.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're throwing that disclaimer in there.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're not. So if you're talking perfection,
Hmm.
so there's a few things. Let me first focus on the answer.
Okay.
Google AI that you use in a Google search
Hmm.
is not the same as using something like Copilot or
Yeah,
GPT.
understood.
It's
Understood.
dedicated to whatever specifics that their goal. Google is selling products,
Hmm.
directing to the best,
Yes.
videos that it has available,
Hmm.
so that one can process all that kind of stuff. That's totally different than looking at and collating information, not on, hey, that new book by so and so author, or what movie, or this. I'm just This is us playing with the
Hmm.
internet. This is not what I'm talking about, and you can't connect a
Right.
thing.
And
Those two things don't match.
and I acknowledge that we have departments. We have the CIA, we have the NSA. They are both creating their own AIs and using the data sets of the information that they collect themselves. They're not using information from the internet. However, what they're using is information that was collected from various sources to include human intelligence, which is some of the least reliable.
But Mark, let me just set this sort of framework as the way I see it. I don't know that we can broadly say that anything can be without error.
Right.
When you're making when so This is not the goal here,
Hmm.
or at least this is not the expectation, or at least that I don't know any. I mean, the thing is, with the most amount of data
Hmm.
concerning the question and prediction that you're looking to narrow down,
Hmm.
with all that's available that an AI will process,
Hmm.
that information can contain a possible course that won't pan out the way you want.
Right.
If you're pointing to the fact that error is present in
Right.
everything, including AI,
Hmm.
yeah, it's included in everything. Error is
Well.
included in everything. But because error is included in everything, including AI, like,
Hmm.
it can't necessarily. By the way, two things. Error. If you ask a question and you get an answer, the answer to your question is one, just like a superposition. It's a collapsing of
Hmm.
all possible answers I could give you. Let's say you ask me a question, and I answer you. I have no choice but to answer you with an answer. Because if I were to answer you with all the possible variations that would fit
Hmm.
your question, I would have to write some sort of diction encyclopedic volumes in order to
Understood.
answer your thing. This is what AI does. It collates all this stuff. It's searching for all these references. It's
Right.
doing all that. You can you
But but
I'm just trying to clarify that.
but you, the human, you do that as well. Because you may have that encyclopedic knowledge in your head, but you're going to balance that off of the question that I asked. And most of that encyclopedic knowledge that you have in your head is probably irrelevant to my question, but you're going to thumb through it and find the information you need to give me the answer.
Who, a human being?
Yes, you.
No, you're gonna have a booklet, Mark.
No, no, no.
At best, or I'm sorry, me. I'm gonna have at best a booklet. AI is gonna have a
No.
cornucopia.
You have more knowledge in your brain than you give yourself credit for. All
I'm not
humans do.
minimizing.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Because that's what you do as a person. If I ask you about changing a tire, you have information about seafood, you have information about driving an airboat, you have information about roofing your house, you have all this information that you're going to parse through and decide he's not asking about any of that. Let's get right down to the answer. You have 5 lug nuts. Take your lug wrench and loosen those 5 lug nuts. Then jack up the car, take the lug nuts off, swap it out. You That's what you as a human do. You sift through all that information whether you're thinking about it or not. In the process of eliminating all the other stuff that's irrelevant, you hone in on that answer.
Here's the problem. I gotta answer you this. Go ahead. Go
All
ahead.
human brains do that.
I get that. I get that. But you're treating this
Mm-hmm.
as your question. Go
Mm-hmm.
ahead. You have go ahead.
My whole point in all of this is the AI doesn't make the decision.
I get that. But let me answer this. The human makes a decision. Totally get that. I
Okay,
understand.
that was my point.
You're treating this example that we um where you ask a question and I answer as a human answer your question, and
Mm-hmm.
you're treating the act of a question and an answer as a one to one.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the case. Let me explain. I'm going to be as clear as I can.
I'm just following the examples you're giving me, but go
Well,
ahead.
but I'm going to
Okay.
clarify the situation.
Mm-hmm.
You expect one answer.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. Hey, Mark, where is that comic book shop on Bird Road?
Mm-hmm.
Eloy, it's on Bird Road and 79th. Okay. A- question, answer, solved. Problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. You're treating this scenario in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what I'm saying. My booklet of information and various different ice cream and the
Mm-hmm.
cobweb store and whatever, and then I funnel it to, oh, he's looking for tires. Here's the thing. I may answer the tire question, but this is different than the AI, where it's not going to say ice cream when you're asking for a tire.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna have not only the information of the tire that I might be able to provide you. It's going to have how many tires were produced in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
the names of the mechanics or garages,
Mm-hmm.
the in industry standards, the competing factors of this, that, and the other. What happened to it? Just a series of
Mm-hmm.
things concerning your one question.
Right.
So there's power in that.
There is. However, allow me to retort. It's quite possible you might have all that knowledge as well. But because I asked you a specific question about the tire, you are able to go through and cast a lot of that aside because it's irrelevant to this discussion. You may have all that knowledge, but you're going to flip through that knowledge and decide what's relevant to my question and then give me that. You know?
My
Um,
point is, my point is that AI
mhm.
is is automating all the it's
It
condensed.
is.
It's a one-stop shop, and everybody, not everybody, but a truckload of people are using it.
Hmm.
Industries are using it. Governments are using it. It's fast tracking um, answers and conclusions and predictions and so on. And
Yes.
humans can do that too,
Hmm.
but they do it with missing. So you cannot replicate an AI's vast knowledge I could never. There's no, because we're human,
Right.
and this is why they use that, because it can
It
sift through all that and
it can re
provide clarity.
it can retrieve knowledge. It can't make a decision.
Yeah, but I'm not even. I I,
So
I agree with that, but
okay.
that's not even a problem. That it can't make decisions. No, the human makes decisions. The problem is the questions and the goals that these humans, particularly those in positions of power, choose to ask it and choose to follow, with
Well,
and increasingly or problematically, if indeed followed, neglecting the human consensus of
and
maybe a council and this and
and
that is
and I
the
get that.
worry.
And I get that. And my answer to that is if they are doing that, they were going to do it with or without AI. Because what you're describing is a dictatorship where one person calls all the shots.
No, but not if, okay, if my country is behind the trend and another one is using like this rapid succession of information,
Mm-hmm.
I have to keep up with these people because
Understood.
they're going to have an advantage
Understood. But
no, but let me get to the point why I'm not saying you're referring dictatorship, but let me clarify this point. By default, we're tumbling
uh huh.
into a direction where, so even if the person doesn't, go ahead.
You don't see that as a different subject? I'm
With
seeing because you're talking about somebody making a decision based on what the AI has told them, with no regard for the population, whether it's going to benefit the population or going to hurt the population. That's one subject. This escalation based on what this country have and this country doesn't have, so it's stacking up and stacking up. To me, that's a different subject
let me explain
because
what I was saying.
that's going to go on whether this over here happens or not.
No, let me say why I think it's the same. So, in order to offset this with newly arrived information more
Mm-hmm.
streamlined,
Mm-hmm.
you now have decisions looking into the future based on reactions to other people's calculate, because you're not only calculating what's best for you,
Mm-hmm.
you're also calculating what's best for you, considering other people are using technology that is
Mm-hmm.
trying to circumvent what you think is best for you. So, in other words, your mission, let's say, is for a prosperous island nation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, your opponent that wants a certain mineral, whatever the case might be, will be calculating out using this technology of what your intentions are and will look to subvert your intentions. Me, I will then see that they are using technology to understand what my goal is,
Mm-hmm.
but I want my goal to happen, but I can't do it the way I want to because they're planning to
Right.
subvert me. So now I have to change my plans to it. In that process,
Mm-hmm.
there's a situation where short goals and long goals, if attainable, occurs, and the people involved, like we were talking about 20th century before, the people involved, like regular citizens, there's a difference between a slow ride into change and quick succession changes. Even though
Yeah.
I'm the leader of, let me
Mm-hmm.
link this, even though I'm the leader of this island nation and I want this situation to go in the direction I want, because of the facts that are involved in this chess game in the world, that they're meeting my checkmating me in different areas, I have to adapt my goals in order to circumvent. And they're doing this. The technology is
Right.
merging into this pinnacle, and these heads of world governments are using it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's influencing the population. It's basically saturating, and it's basically an acceleration, and the goals have to be shifted in order to get to where you wanted to if you can, and they're trying to do the same thing, and it's just an insanity based on this technological advance.
But does that change your concern for the people?
Oh, me personally, yeah.
Yeah. Why would these people having a more powerful AI than you and you have to keep up with them? Why would that change what you want for your island nation? You want prosperity for everybody in your island nation.
Oh no, that's me.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. My That's what I mean. They're two separate things. It's going to escalate. Dude,
Dude, I just gave you like the best, like I literally put all the information to
okay,
show you how it all links up.
but my point is it's going to escalate no matter what you think. That's my point. It's going to escalate and it's going to compound on itself. And that one-upsmanship is going to happen. It's happening right now, no matter what we think, no matter whether we like it or not.
Oh no,
And
yeah,
no matter whether the best interest of the people involved or not involved, that's a different consideration. That's something way out here. That escalation is happening now. It's been, and as I said, the fuse was lit in 1946. So that escalation is going to keep going. There are going to be people who get left behind. There are going to be people who thrive in it. There are going to be people who can't deal with it and just disconnect and go live on an alpaca farm. There are going to be a wide spectrum of individuals who handle it their own way. A lot of industries are going to collapse. A lot of industries are going to take off. It it's the world, you said it yourself, and the best way we can put it, the world we knew is gone. It's not going to be pretty for some people. I think it's going to be livable for most. And it's going to be exciting and awesome for a few.
that thing you just stated, that claim that it's gonna be what for most.
It's going to be acceptable. It's just going to be another day
Okay.
for most. I mean, dude, you're talking about a guy who went from a 2004 Jeep that I thought was pretty advanced to a 2021 Toyota Corolla. So we're looking at a 2025 Toyota Corolla. Gosh. So we're looking at a 21-year difference. The technology that's in that Corolla right now is still futuristic to me. There are still things that car can do that I have no idea about. I've not learned that car because I've never needed to learn a car. It's always been get in, put the key in the ignition, twist it, take it out of park, and go.
Yeah.
Now, I get a text message on my phone if somebody leaves the door unlocked. All
Yeah.
right? There is a freaking computer monitor on the dash that's got about 52 things that I can go through, different settings. In the most important thing in Linda's, that is what sold her the car. We drove a car that was about, I want to say $7,000 cheaper. It was a different color, and I think was a little bit nicer. But because it had heated seats, she wanted that one, the one that we ended up driving home. The heated seats is what
That's
sold her.
gonna be nice.
It could have been rusty and had three wheels missing. It had heated seats. She wanted it. So, okay, fine.
How hot is how hot can it go?
Well, it's not gonna fry an egg or anything like that, but you feel it. It's the seat that you sit on and the back. It's a little area of the
Does it
back
get
and a
nice
little
like
area
a
of the seat.
blanket? Like a
Huh?
heat blanket? Does it get like a heat blanket hot?
It's about that, yeah.
That's good.
It's
If
about
it's
electric blanket hot, and
oh,
she has.
it's not electric blanket hot.
No, I said it's about electric
Oh,
blanket
that's
hot,
good, dude. That's so good.
and uh, and that's why she has back problems, and that heated seat back makes her back feel better.
Oh, that's dude. There's
So,
nothing like. Oh, that's
but
great.
my point is, in just 21 years, I went from putting the key in the ignition and turning it, taking it out of park and go, to sitting down and having a discussion with my car as I drive it. And you think I'm joking. I have to be careful what I say because we were in the parking lot the other day, going to go park, and I said, "Oh, there's one on the other side of that Toyota." All of a sudden, the car said, "How can I help you?"
Who you talking about?
And I cancel. and then it would stop. It's got a microphone above the driver and the passenger side. And if you say, "Hey Toyota," it's got an AI.
You know what I suggest? I suggest you wear tinfoil hats so the communication will be
You don't need the tinfoil hat. It's a microphone. It's voice activated.
because there's a little office somewhere, and they're saying, okay, Mark Lindsay, like a government office. Mark Lindsay just got in his car.
Yes.
To
That
he's driving to the sub
No, even
job.
worse. Did you ever see 2001 Space Odyssey? Momo's right. It's Hal. I'm waiting for the car to go. I'm afraid I can't turn left, Mark. You know?
I'm not gonna do that, Mark. Let me say this last thing
Yeah, then we need to wrap it up. I got to go get my pain
about
pills and
15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago,
mhm.
probably like 20 years ago. There was a video that came out on YouTube back then.
Mhm.
How can I say this? A lot of people saw it. It was something to do with a future vision that they were dressing it up as a movement, and these people wanted a future or envisioned. They were predicting it was something to do with that, and it gained a lot of traction. I forget the name now, but in it, the society of the future, people didn't have cash. They didn't have like it was all tech related.
Mhm.
Um, People were tracked and this and that. It was like the most, to me, dystopian vision that I could I could even imagine. Like I watched it and was like disgusted by it back then. This was before even us even considering AI and
Mhm.
any of this stuff. That none of this. And but I saw it and I had a natural, to me, rejection instinct. Now here's why I'm saying this.
We're
Well,
both
one,
old
there's
school.
countries.
Hmm.
What's that?
We're both old school. That's why.
Well, that's it.
Mhm.
I mean, we don't. Our ground, where our feet touch the earth,
Mhm.
is something else than what a lot of these things point to.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. There's places here on earth today. I won't name the nation
Mhm.
that has a credit score system for people's behavior in
Yeah.
society.
Mhm.
They have big screens that picture people that lower, like when you walk through a train station, like, and it shows the picture and your points going down and up if you do things that are vice
Mhm.
related, smoking, this and that. Like everything gives you a
Yeah.
credit up and down in order to okay. So that world of order, to me, is dystopian as hell.
I agree with that.
And but here's the cherry on top. Interestingly, all those tools that can be used for good or bad
Mhm.
from our position, like what's bad for me would be a dystopian use of that technology.
Mhm.
But a good use would be for applications that
Yeah.
are. But it's the line is blurry. So here's the cherry on top. And even though I say that, I find myself here using the tech that will potentially. We can't be um, in the time that we're not that we can't not be in the time that we are. We have to be in the time we are, and that means that some automation and stuff. But if we get boiled like a frog slowly, as the saying goes, the next thing we know, we're chipped, scanned, processed, stamped,
Well,
delivered, and all that. You know what I'm
well,
saying?
allow me to retort. Knowing the country that you're talking about is the number one reason why that's not being adopted in other places. I tend to wrap it up kind of succinctly by saying they're the punchline to a joke they don't get. Just because it is that country, a lot of people immediately reject it. because of the control that that country exerts on its population. That's deemed unacceptable in most free societies. And so that process is the joke that they don't get. Am I freezing up, Eloy?
No, I'm listening to you.
Oh, okay. Because your camera's getting kind of jerky, so I didn't know if it was on my end or yours.
It's probably
You're
on my end. I see myself fine, but I'm
okay.
localized.
Am I pixelated or
Not to me.
anything? No. Okay. All right. Because you suddenly got pixelated, your
You
camera
know why
froze a
this is
little bit.
happening? Because we're mentioning what should not be mentioned.
It's the AI. It's doing it to us. Yes. We need to land the plane. But my point being is that yes, that is dystopian. But look at the society that implemented that technology. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me.
So even if, on a side note, with that,
Hmm.
just as a last topper, um, and this is ridiculous, but I'll just say it: if the island nation of Cuba, following that same ideology, had the infrastructure stuff and readily available, this, that, and stuff, but yet they were stuck in that ideology, at least you could say, those people there living in that island nation of Cuba, that, hey, well, look at our bridges and look at our trains and look at our, sure, we're stamped and processed and scanned and this and that, but at least, look, we have, but not even that. And so so and why did I bring that up? I brought it up because here you have authoritarianism
Hmm.
in two different
Yeah.
contrasts,
Hmm.
but one is a global power,
Hmm.
and that it needs to increment growth
Hmm.
within the concept of capitalism.
Right.
The other one also needs that,
Hmm.
but has a different model that's even more reductive. It doesn't make the one better or the other, this and that,
Hmm.
as far as that, but well, it does in certain ways. Like, you know what I'm saying,
I
right? Like,
do. I do
if
know what you're saying.
so, it's an odd thing because you have this
Right.
one certain domination thing,
Hmm.
and but you have one with infrastructure and the other like total collapse.
Yeah.
So it's an odd thing, but anyways, whatever. That just popped
Hmm.
into my head.
Yeah.
Anyways, I
Yeah.
guess,
We need to go ahead and land the plane. I gotta go.
okay. We hope we filled all your dystopian nightmares this evening.
Hmm.
Um, Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We go live every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific Coast time here on YouTube. And this is the Trampled Underfoot podcast channel on YouTube. We also have a Facebook page, and that's Trampled Underfoot Podcast on Facebook. You can catch, um, images and links and such that we talk about here. We every now and again post them over there, so be sure to check that out. We also have a site over a site which is trampledunderfootpodcast.com, and you can catch past episodes there by clicking the links and following that. And we're also sponsored by,
Harneal Media. Boy, these titles come up real slow, so I have to try to pace myself. I had to take down the ticker before you got to Harneal Media to make sure that I had the ticker down. That's inside baseball. None of you are interested in that. What you should be interested in, however, is talking to Steve over at Harneal Media. If you're even toying with the idea of a website, maybe you want a web store, maybe you want to be able to get your products or your services out in front of the public at large. There's no better way to do it than with your own website. And Steve over at Harneal Media is the only person I'm ever going to refer you to for that. He's very, very competitively priced. He'll do as much or as little as you want him to do on that website. and he gives you 100% personalized service. So do yourself a favor. Head over to harneilmedia.com. There's a link in the description of this live stream and every live stream and video on this channel, and it's that way for a reason. Do yourself a favor. That's from my man Steve. Do yourself a favor, head over to harneilmedia.com. That's HARNEAL media.com, sponsor of Trampled Underfoot Podcast.com.
I meant to do that when you. I thought you ended, and I was trying to match it right when you ended, but
You pulled the
your
trigger too fast.
yeah, your pause confused me, and I pressed too quick. All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed the show. Slightly utopian, but guess what? There's always a branching out to the positive. So let's just enjoy the rest of the week and do the things that we love, and we will meet you again. But don't do anything that you'll regret the morning after.
Yeah,
Just keep that in mind.
yeah, and
Um,
don't name it after me.
yeah. Um, so, anyways, we'll catch you next time. Peace out.
See ya.